The economy can be growing while your life feels smaller. Prices can rise more slowly while your grocery bill stays painfully high. Jobs can exist while good jobs feel harder to reach. By the end of this video, you will see 15 surprising facts shaping what Americans pay, what they earn, and what they can no longer comfortably afford. These are not rumors or partisan talking points. They are patterns visible in government data, household surveys, pricing practices, and the ordinary choices built into every checkout line. The real story is not that every number is terrible. It is that the numbers can look acceptable while millions of people feel trapped.
Start with the most misunderstood word in economics: inflation. When officials say inflation is cooling, many people hear that prices are falling. Usually, that is not what it means. Cooling inflation means prices are still going up, just more slowly than before. The speed changes, the height of the price level usually does not come back down. That is why a lower inflation rate can produce almost no emotional relief. Your family is not comparing this month with last month. You are comparing the cart in front of you with the cart you remember. A government review found that overall consumer prices rose by more than 1/3 between 2019 and 2024. A slower increase after that does not erase the climb already locked in. Think of a staircase. Inflation describes how fast you are walking upward. Even if you slow down, you are still standing on a much higher step than where you began. The step feels permanent because most paychecks were built for the floor below. Prices can fall in selected areas, especially energy or volatile foods. But broad sustained deflation is rare, and policymakers often fear it because falling prices can weaken spending, profits, wages, and employment. So the public hears good news about a rate, while households experience a permanent reset in the cost of normal life. Both statements can be technically true at the same time. That gap between the rate of change and the level of prices is the first reason economic headlines can sound disconnected from reality. And once people understand that distinction, another puzzle appears. If paychecks are larger than they used to be, why do so many workers still feel as if they are running in place? Nominal wages are the numbers printed on your paycheck. Real wages are what those dollars can actually buy after inflation takes its share. A larger number can still command a smaller portion of the life you expect. In June of 2026, average hourly earnings were higher in dollar terms than a year earlier. But after inflation, real hourly earnings for all private employees were almost flat. For production and non-supervisory workers, real hourly earnings were slightly lower than a year earlier. That is not a collapse. It is something more frustrating. Almost no progress. A raise can feel good on Friday and disappear by Monday through rent, food, insurance, childcare, electricity, and interest charges. The raise arrives once. The higher bills collected again and again. This is why workers can honestly say they earn more than ever and still feel poorer. The paycheck grew, but the price of maintaining the same life grew too. What looks like progress in payroll software can feel like stagnation at home. Average data also hide huge differences. A strong raise in one industry can lift the national figure, while workers in another field see hours cut, benefits reduced, or schedules become unpredictable. The cost of living is personal. Someone with a paid-off home experiences inflation differently from a renter. A healthy household experiences it differently from one managing prescriptions and medical debt. That makes the economy feel unfair, even when the averages improve. The same national inflation rate can produce comfort for one family and crisis for another. The second surprise is not that wages never rise. It is that a wage increase can be statistically real and practically invisible. Nowhere is that invisibility clearer than the grocery store, where shoppers are surrounded by thousands of prices but given very little time to compare them. A shopper may make dozens of price decisions before noticing how tired they are. Food at home was still rising in mid-2026, even after the explosive increases of the earlier inflation wave had cooled. The crisis cooled, but the elevated base price remained on the shelf. The important point is not 1 month, it is accumulation. Small increases, layered on top of earlier large increases, create a new normal that is hard to reverse. Once the new price becomes normal, future increases compound from that higher base. Groceries also punish memory. People remember what eggs, cereal, coffee, and meat used to cost, but they rarely remember the exact package weight, sale condition, or unit price. That makes the shelf a perfect place for quiet price changes. The sticker may look familiar while the amount inside, the promotion, or the loyalty requirement is changed. Food is purchased frequently, so every increase is emotionally visible. A new roof is expensive once. A higher grocery bill introduces itself again every week. Repetition turns a modest increase into a weekly reminder of lost breathing room. Food spending also competes with everything else. When groceries rise, families do not simply stop eating. They trade down, buy less variety, delay another bill, or lean on credit. Official food inflation measures are serious and carefully constructed, but no index perfectly matches one household. Your basket may be heavy in the exact categories rising fastest. A vegetarian family, a household with infants, and a family buying high-protein foods can experience radically different grocery inflation in the same city. The third surprise is that there is no single grocery inflation rate in real life. There are millions of personal versions hiding inside the national average. Then comes shrinkflation, one of the most visible symbols of consumer frustration and one of the most misunderstood parts of the inflation story. The anger comes from seeing the same package and receiving less life from it. Shrinkflation happens when the amount in a package falls without a matching drop in price. The shelf price may stay still while the price per ounce quietly rises. The increase is real even when the number on the shelf never moves. A federal review found that downsizing contributed only a small amount to overall inflation. That sounds comforting until you look at the categories where it mattered much more. For household paper products, cereal, coffee, and certain snacks, smaller packages can meaningfully raise the unit price and make familiar products disappear faster at home. These are repeat purchases, so a small reduction keeps charging the customer. The practice is difficult to notice because packaging can keep the same height, color, logo, and general shape. A deeper curve or narrower width can hide the missing quantity. Manufacturers argue that smaller packages can preserve an affordable sticker price when costs rise. Consumers respond that the change is often too subtle to recognize. The argument is really about transparency, not whether businesses face real costs. Both points can be true. A company may be managing costs, while a shopper still feels deceived because the package communicates familiarity more loudly than the label communicates reduction. The safest defense is unit pricing, but unit labels are not always consistent, prominent, or easy to compare across different measurements. Comparison becomes work, and work is exactly what a rushed shopper avoids. One product may show price per ounce, another price per count, and another price per pound. The math is available, but the shopping environment is built for speed. The fourth surprise is that shrinkflation is not the main cause of inflation, yet it is a powerful lesson in how price increases can be hidden in plain sight. The next layer is the loyalty card, a tool that can save money and collect an extraordinary amount of information at the same time. The discount feels immediate, while the data trail grows quietly in the background. A loyalty discount can make the regular price feel almost like a penalty. Shoppers who do not enroll may face a noticeably higher shelf price for the same item. In effect, membership can divide one aisle into a low-price lane and a high-price lane. The program rewards repeat business, but it also links purchases over time. The retailer can learn what you buy, how often you buy it, and which discounts change your behavior. That information can improve inventory and produce useful offers. It can also make pricing less transparent, because two shoppers may receive different promotions. The more tailored the offer, the harder it becomes to know the true market price. Federal investigators have warned that modern pricing tools can use location, browsing behavior, purchase history, and even online movements to shape offers or prices. The concern is not science fiction. It is the expanding business of prediction. That does not mean every grocery chain is secretly charging every person a unique price. It means the technology to segment shoppers is real, expanding, and often invisible. A coupon once appeared in a newspaper and offered the same deal to anyone holding it. A digital coupon can be targeted, limited, personalized, and tied to a profile. Personalization can make a deal feel generous because no neighbor sees the comparison. The shopper sees savings. The retailer sees a test. How much discount was necessary? Which product triggered the visit? Did the shopper buy profitable extras? Every redemption teaches the system what it may need to offer next time. Loyalty programs are not automatically bad. The uncomfortable truth is that the discount may be partly financed by your attention, habits, and willingness to be measured. The fifth surprise is that the modern price tag is becoming less like a public sign and more like a private conversation between an algorithm and a customer. Even without personalized pricing, the physical store is designed to influence what lands in the cart before you reach the register. The building itself participates in the sale before any employee says a word. Staples are often spread across the building, forcing shoppers to travel farther. Longer paths create more chances to notice displays and make unplanned purchases. A gallon of milk can become a guided tour through snacks, drinks, and seasonal displays. End caps feel like bargain zones, but prominent placement does not guarantee the lowest price. It guarantees visibility, which is valuable to retailers and manufacturers. Eye-level products receive attention. Lower shelves may hold cheaper alternatives that require a deliberate search, rather than a casual glance. The cheaper option may be inches away and still functionally hidden. Large carts can make a modest purchase look incomplete. Wide aisles, bright displays, bakery smells, and checkout snacks all reduce the feeling that each extra item matters. None of this removes personal responsibility. It simply means the shopping environment is not neutral. It is engineered around predictable human behavior. Better decisions begin by recognizing that design is part of the price. The fastest shopper is not always the cheapest shopper. Rushing makes it easier to miss unit prices, substitute sizes, coupon conditions, and the cost of convenience. Fatigue turns comparison into surrender, especially after work or with children nearby. A list helps because it turns the trip into a mission. Without one, the store supplies its own agenda, one attractive display at a time. The sixth surprise is that grocery overspending is often not a failure of discipline. It is a predictable response to an environment built to create small decisions. Those small decisions become even harder when promotions are designed to make spending feel like saving. Buy one, get one offers can be excellent when the product will be used. They can be wasteful when the second item expires, encourages overconsumption, or replaces a cheaper choice. A coupon lowers the price of a specific product, but it can still increase the total bill if it persuades you to buy something you never planned to purchase. Saving on an unwanted purchase is still spending on an unwanted purchase. Threshold deals work the same way. Spend a little more to unlock a reward, and the reward can become an excuse to add low-priority items. The shopper chases the prize and forgets that the store set the finish line. The word free is especially powerful because people evaluate the reward separately from the money required to reach it. That emotional separation makes the required spending feel smaller than it is. A sale price also needs a reference point. If the regular price rose first, a dramatic discount may only return the item to what once felt normal. The word sale has no meaning until the current price is compared with a real alternative. Multi-buy signs create another trap. Sometimes the discount applies to one item. Sometimes it requires the full quantity. The small print decides whether the deal is real. The careful shopper asks a boring question. What is the final unit price for the amount I will actually use? That question cuts through bright tags, crossed out prices, reward points, and artificial urgency. The seventh surprise is that promotions do not merely reduce prices. They change quantities, timing, and frequency. The shopper may not notice the discount, but it can still influence the brand choice, and the definition of what feels reasonable to buy. The promotion is steering behavior, not merely trimming the receipt. Private label products reveal another strange truth. The expensive brand is not always paying for better ingredients. Sometimes it is paying for recognition. Familiarity has a cost, and the shelf is very good at collecting it. Store brands usually spend less on national advertising, celebrity campaigns, and elaborate packaging. Those savings can support a lower shelf price. The customer may be buying less advertising without buying less product. Research has found substantial average price gaps between private labels and national brands, though quality and savings vary by category. The gap is not universal, but it is large enough to deserve a deliberate test. In basic goods such as flour, sugar, canned vegetables, and cleaning supplies, the difference may be small enough that branding carries much of the premium. Boring products are often where brand loyalty costs the most and delivers the least. In other products, taste, consistency, sourcing, or formulation may justify paying more. The point is not that every generic item is equal. Paying more can be sensible when the difference survives an honest comparison. The point is that many shoppers compare identities rather than specifications. A familiar label can feel safer even when the ingredient list is nearly identical. Habit skips that comparison and converts recognition into recurring revenue. Retailers also have strong incentives to promote private labels because those products can deepen loyalty and give the store more control over margins. A store brand can save the shopper money while strengthening the retailer's position. That means the cheap option is not charity. It is part of a competitive strategy, and it can still be a very good deal for the shopper. Both sides can benefit even when the motive is commercial rather than charitable. A blind taste test at home can be more useful than years of brand habit. Keep what matters. Trade down where the difference disappears. The eighth surprise is that some of the easiest savings come from admitting that a portion of the grocery bill is paying for memory, advertising, and comfort. But the market does not only push shoppers downward, it also pulls them upward through premiumization. Once basic value is exhausted, the next profit opportunity is aspiration. Premiumization is the strategy of turning an ordinary category into a ladder of upgrades. Basic, natural, artisanal, high protein, functional, limited edition, and luxury. A simple product becomes a lifestyle statement. The package promises purity, performance, status, convenience, or emotional reward. The product is no longer just food. It is a small vote about identity. Some premium products are genuinely better. Others rely on vague language, smaller portions, and visual signals that feel more scientific than they are. Attractive language can be meaningful, meaningless, or somewhere frustratingly between. The economic incentive is obvious. A company may struggle to sell much more food, but it can earn more by persuading customers to pay more for each unit. Growth can come from selling a better story rather than a larger quantity. This strategy becomes especially attractive when consumers resist direct price increases. Add a feature, redesign the package, and the higher price feels like a choice. The new feature gives the higher price a narrative that a plain increase lacks. The shelf then shifts upward. The premium option anchors perception, making the middle option look reasonable even when it used to be the expensive one. Anchoring changes the question from what is cheap to what seems reasonable beside luxury. Health anxiety strengthens the effect. Shoppers may pay a large premium to avoid an ingredient they never needed to fear, or to gain a benefit the label barely defines. Fear and hope are powerful pricing tools because neither fits neatly on the nutrition panel. Again, this is not proof of fraud. It is proof that emotion has economic value and packaging knows how to collect it. The ninth surprise is that inflation can arrive disguised as improvement. The product costs more, but the buyer is encouraged to experience the increase as self-care. Convenience creates another price layer, and it is one of the fastest growing taxes people voluntarily place on themselves. The charge is optional in theory and deeply tempting in an exhausted household. Prepared fruit, Single-serve snacks, pre-cut vegetables, bottled drinks, and ready-to-heat meals charge for labor, packaging, speed, and reduced planning. The premium buys time, fewer dishes, less preparation, and more packaging. That convenience can be rational for a busy household. Time has value. The mistake is treating the premium as invisible. The cost may be justified, but it should be chosen rather than forgotten. A few dollars on several items can quietly add more to a weekly bill than the price increase everyone is arguing about online. Convenience premiums accumulate quietly because each one appears too small to challenge. Delivery magnifies the effect. The customer may face higher menu prices, service fees, small order fees, delivery fees, taxes, and a tip in one transaction. The food did not become twice as nourishing just because the transaction gained layers. The total cost is often revealed in stages. By the final screen, the user has invested time choosing items and is less likely to abandon the order. Checkout design uses commitment. After building the cart, quitting feels like wasted effort. Convenience also weakens price memory. When groceries, restaurant meals, and household goods arrive through separate apps, the true monthly total becomes harder to feel. Fragmented spending makes a costly month feel like a series of unrelated taps. Automatic reordering removes friction in a useful way, but friction sometimes protects the budget by forcing a person to reconsider a purchase. The 10th surprise is that convenience is not merely a higher price. It is a system that reduces the number of moments when you might decide not to spend. Now, leave the grocery aisle and look at the largest expense for most households: housing. In 2024, housing absorbed about 1/3 of average household spending. Housing and transportation together consumed half. By mid-July of 2026, the average rate on a 30-year fixed mortgage was around 6.5%. A rate near that level can add hundreds of dollars to a typical monthly payment. At the same time, the median price of a newly sold home remained above $400,000. The price alone would be difficult. Financing makes the barrier steeper. A high price and a high borrowing rate multiply each other. The buyer is not only financing a larger amount, the buyer is paying more interest on that larger amount. Interest turns an already expensive asset into a long stream of expensive payments. That is why a home can be technically available and practically unaffordable. The listing exists, but the monthly payment disqualifies the household. Qualification depends on the payment, not on whether the buyer loves the house. Saving for a down payment also becomes harder while paying high rent. The future buyer is competing with the present landlord for the same dollars. The renter is asked to fund today's shelter and tomorrow's entry ticket at once. Home ownership still builds stability for many families, but entry increasingly depends on income, location, family help, existing equity, or a willingness to accept a long commute. The housing crisis is not simply that homes are expensive. It is that the path into ownership has become more dependent on advantages people already possess. The 11th surprise is that the same house can represent security to the owner, a locked door to the renter, and a financial product to the investor. High mortgage rates create another distortion. Millions of owners have strong reasons not to move. This is one reason high rates do not automatically produce a flood of cheaper homes. Someone holding an older mortgage near 3% may face a dramatically higher payment by selling and buying a similar home at current rates. The replacement house may cost the same, yet demand a far larger monthly check. That owner may stay put even when the house no longer fits, the commute is terrible, or a job opportunity appears in another city. Personal freedom narrows when moving means giving up a financial advantage. This rate lock can reduce the supply of existing homes for sale. Fewer listings can support prices even when buyers are struggling. A shortage of willing sellers can keep competition alive even with fewer buyers. It can also reduce labor mobility. Moving for a better job becomes more expensive when it requires surrendering a cheap mortgage. The job may pay more and still leave the worker poorer after the housing switch. The economy then gets sticky. families remain in homes that are too large or too small, while first-time buyers chase a limited pool of properties. What protects individual owners can reduce efficiency across the wider economy. Builders can add supply, but construction faces land limits, zoning rules, labor costs, financing costs, and local opposition. Supply is slow because every new home must survive a long chain of local constraints. Renters feel the spillover because delayed ownership keeps more households in the rental market for longer. More years renting means more competition for the same apartments and neighborhoods. There is no single villain in this chain. It is a collision between past low rates, current high rates, limited supply, and basic human reluctance to accept a worse deal. The 12th surprise is that an old mortgage can function like golden handcuffs, protecting one household while making the entire market less flexible. Even after securing a home or car, ownership brings a second wave of costs that many budgets underestimate: insurance, maintenance, taxes, and repairs. The first payment buys access. The later payments decide whether ownership is comfortable. Insurance prices can rise sharply because replacement costs, medical costs, litigation, theft, weather risk, and repair technology all change what claims cost. Premiums are prices for expected risk, and expected risk can change before a claim occurs. A modern bumper may contain cameras and sensors. A minor collision can require expensive calibration, specialized parts, and more labor than the damage appears to justify. Home insurance can become difficult in areas exposed to wildfire, storms, flooding, or other hazards. Some households face higher premiums, higher deductibles, or fewer choices. Property taxes may rise with assessments and local budgets, even when the homeowner has no intention of selling. A rising assessment can produce a larger bill without producing a larger paycheck. Maintenance is inflation too, even when it is not emotionally grouped with inflation. Roofs, plumbing, tires, appliances, and labor all arrive on their own schedules. Irregular timing makes these costs harder to plan for than a steady monthly charge. This is why the purchase price is never the full price. Ownership converts some visible rent into a collection of irregular bills. The owner trades one visible landlord bill for several less predictable obligations. A household can appear wealthy on paper because the home gained value, and still feel cash poor because that value does not pay this month's insurance premium. Equity is valuable, but it is not the same as liquid cash available tonight. The 13th surprise is that asset appreciation can increase net worth while simultaneously making daily ownership more expensive. When income cannot absorb those expenses, debt becomes the bridge, and the bridge now carries a heavy toll. Household debt reached about $18.8 trillion in the first quarter of 2026. That total was roughly $4.5 trillion above the end of 2019. Credit card balances were around $1.25 trillion, even after a seasonal decline from the previous quarter. The balance represents millions of separate stories, from convenience to emergency. The average interest rate across credit card accounts was close to 21% in the spring of 2026. For borrowers who revolve debt, that rate can overpower most ordinary investment returns. At that rate, carrying the balance turns yesterday's groceries, gas, and medical copay into tomorrow's expensive obligation. Interest keeps charging after the meal is eaten, the tank is empty, and the medicine is used. Minimum payments can preserve the appearance of control while allowing interest to consume a large share of each payment. A low required payment can hide a very long and expensive path to zero. Debt is not always reckless. It can finance education, transportation, housing, a business, or survival during a crisis. The moral judgment around debt often ignores the emergencies that created it. But high-cost revolving debt is uniquely punishing because the price of being short on cash rises precisely when the borrower has the least room to absorb it. The borrower pays a premium for lacking the cash that would have avoided the premium. Delinquency data shows stress is not evenly distributed. Younger and lower-income borrowers often face tighter budgets, thinner savings, and less access to cheap credit. The average delinquency rate hides neighborhoods and age groups carrying much heavier strain. The 14th surprise is that credit cards do not merely smooth consumption. At high rates, they can make essential purchases more expensive long after the products are gone. The card solves today's timing problem by creating tomorrow's income problem. The labor market adds one final contradiction. The unemployment rate can look moderate, while job seekers describe months of silence, rejection, and automated screening. The headline captures labor demand broadly, not the emotional texture of a search. In June of 2026, unemployment was a little above 4%, but payroll growth was modest, and long-term unemployment was higher than a year earlier. Long-term unemployment matters because skills, confidence, and savings can erode with time. A person is counted as unemployed only when actively looking and available for work. Someone who stops searching can disappear from that headline measure. The measure follows a clear rule, but the rule cannot capture every discouraged worker. A worker with one part-time job who wants full-time hours is still employed. A graduate delivering food while seeking a career position is still employed. Employment status can look successful while the worker is still searching for stability. Job quality matters. Pay, hours, benefits, stability, scheduling, commute, and advancement can separate a good job from a survival job. A job can prevent unemployment and still fail to create a durable middle-class life. Online applications create the impression of endless openings, but listings may be duplicated, old, highly competitive, or designed to build a candidate pool. The apparent abundance of listings can exaggerate the number of real, reachable opportunities. Employers can complain about labor shortages while applicants complain about impossible requirements. Both experiences can exist in different occupations and places. A national mismatch can produce empty positions and rejected applicants at the same time. Technology makes applying easier, so each opening can attract more candidates. It also makes rejection cheaper, faster, and less personal. Efficiency for the platform can feel like invisibility to the person asking for work. The 15th surprise is that employment statistics answer whether people are working. They do not fully answer whether work is secure, sufficient, or leading anywhere. That missing detail is where much of the public's frustration lives. Put all of this together, and the economy stops looking like one machine. It looks like several economies stacked on top of each other. The argument changes when we stop pretending one average describes every household. One economy belongs to households with fixed low mortgage rates, rising assets, strong salaries, and retirement accounts exposed to market gains. Asset ownership converts growth into personal wealth with remarkable efficiency. Another belongs to renters, facing annual increases, workers with flat real pay, families carrying card balances, and buyers locked out of ownership. For these households, higher rates and higher prices arrive without the cushion of ownership. A third belongs to people moving between those worlds, earning more, spending more, owning some assets, and still feeling one repair away from trouble. This middle group may look secure until one illness, layoff, or major repair tests the balance. National output can grow because millions of transactions are happening. That does not guarantee those transactions feel voluntary, affordable, or evenly rewarding. Economic activity measures value produced, not how calmly households manage to pay for it. Consumer spending can remain strong because incomes are strong, but also because households are using savings, credit, or fewer future options. Strong spending can therefore signal confidence, pressure, or a complicated mix of both. Corporate profits can rise because companies are productive, because demand is strong, because prices increased, or because market power allows margins to widen. The explanation differs by industry. The same profit number can reflect innovation in one sector and pricing power in another. The stock market can celebrate future profits, while the checkout line reflects current household strain. Markets and households are measuring different things. A rising portfolio and a painful grocery trip can occur in the same week. That is why arguments about whether the economy is good or bad often go nowhere. People are reporting from different positions inside the same system. Each person is describing a real slice, then mistaking that slice for the whole. The more useful question is not which side is lying. It is which indicator describes your life, and which important cost the headline leaves out. Better judgment begins by matching the indicator to the question being asked. The strongest lesson is that averages are maps, not addresses. They reveal direction, but they do not show the exact pressure inside one kitchen, one paycheck, or one neighborhood. Prices rose dramatically, and slower inflation does not rewind them. Real pay can improve on paper while barely changing what a worker can afford. The direction improved, but many households are still paying for the earlier shock. Grocery stores combine genuine competition with packaging tricks, targeted promotions, strategic layouts, premium products, and convenience charges that reward attention and punish haste. Every aisle contains both honest value and incentives that exploit limited attention. Housing converts earlier advantages into current protection. Cheap old mortgages shelter existing owners, while high prices and high rates block many newcomers. The divide is not simply rich versus poor. Timing and asset ownership matter enormously. Debt allows households to keep moving, but expensive interest can transform a temporary gap into a lasting burden. Employment data remain essential, yet they cannot measure every frustration involving hours, stability, benefits, hiring filters, and career progress. The system keeps functioning, but the cost of functioning can delay every other goal. None of this means the economy is secretly collapsing. It means the phrase "strong economy" can be incomplete when the gains and pressures are distributed so unevenly. Growth can be real, resilience can be real, and household anger can also be real. It also means consumers are not imagining the squeeze. The numbers themselves explain why relief can feel delayed, partial, and strangely absent. Relief reaches different people at different speeds, and some receive very little. The practical defense is not panic, it is clarity. Compare unit prices, question upgrades, calculate convenience, protect credit, and treat housing costs as more than the sticker price. Clarity will not solve every structural problem, but it can stop quiet leaks from multiplying. Most importantly, stop letting one headline tell you how you are supposed to feel. Use the data, then compare it with the actual structure of your life. The economy is personal at the point where national forces meet your fixed obligations. If this changed how you see prices, wages, housing, or debt, like the video and share it with someone who keeps wondering where the money goes. Understanding the system is useful only if it helps people talk honestly about the trade-offs. Then comment with one specific answer. Which everyday cost has changed your life the most? And what did you stop buying, delay, or sacrifice because of it? Your answer may reveal more about the economy than another argument over a headline.